Good morning. It's Friday Eve. Welcome to a Thursday, a little bit after 9 o'clock here in Western Iowa. And the weather, it is hot. That's kind of our big story for this Thursday. Large area there of orange, and look at those purples. Is that purple? I think it's purple. Anyway, we're talking heat advisories and excessive heat warnings. So be warned, it's going to be excessive heat right along the Mississippi River. Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana, places like Memphis, Vicksburg, uh, New Orleans, and then a little bit of a sliver of that excessive heat warning going through Arkansas into Oklahoma near Tulsa there. A little bit of an heat advisory for southern Florida. Still flooding river problems from Florida all the way up to North Carolina. And then in the Pacific Northwest, eastern Oregon, and parts of Idaho, and a little bit of Montana. No, Montana is not included. We have red flag warnings, I believe. Yep, red flag warnings. So a little bit breezy there, and a little bit of fog there in parts of Montana. And so that's your watches and warnings. Now the weather spotlight. It's funny. I was checking Chicago because I wanted to see what they were saying about the chance of severe weather, which we'll talk about here in a second. And I found this little doozy. Who knew this was a thing? So if you're north of Chicago, especially, you have a high swim risk. So be careful jumping in Lake Michigan. Don't do it. Stay out of the water. Obey posted signs and closures. Avoid piers, break walls, and lakeshore trails even. So this is kind of crazy. Stay out of the water if you're in Chicago. All right. Now you know. I had no idea they had such a thing, but I've never been to Chicago. I had a dream when I was like 19, this repeated dream in Technicolor that I was in Chicago. So I imagine that'll come true at some point. We'll see. Meanwhile, back at the weather, severe thunderstorms are possible today. A little bit of Kansas, Oklahoma, but mostly Missouri, Illinois. And with that, some heavy rain, flash flooding possible, especially Missouri, Illinois, parts of Indiana, and Kentucky. And around that, we have some scattered showers and storms possible. Even here in western Iowa, a little bit of a cool front blowing in. And with that, some widely scattered thunderstorms possible here. Then Pacific Northwest, especially Cascades, Oregon and Washington, and east into Idaho, also western Montana through Wyoming and Colorado, and some scattered storms and showers and storms in the southeast along that stationary front / cold front when you get to Florida. And then up in New England and Maine, some scattered showers and storms. Of particular interest, I think, is the chance of showers in West Texas into Oklahoma, because this is going to be pretty hot here, but maybe some relief for some with some scattered storms, West Texas and Oklahoma. Good luck with that. Severe weather today. So the slight risk in the yellow there, that's, again, we're looking at Missouri and Illinois, a little bit of Indiana, and Chicago's included in this, so slight chance for some severe weather. The dark green is your marginal, which includes a little bit of Idaho into Montana, also into Oklahoma and, around the yellow. And then up in Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, parts of western New York, and a little bit of Maine, perhaps a marginal risk of some severe weather, talking mainly hail and damaging winds. However, there is a risk for tornadoes. It's not a big risk, but it's kind of a big area with a 2% risk of a tornado near you. So it's not a huge risk, but it's not zero. All right, high temperatures for today. It's going to be hot in Texas again, even eastern New Mexico, Roswell at 104. Sorry about that. Same with you, Wichita Falls and Abilene, near 100 for West Texas there. 102 Dallas, 101 Austin, mid to upper 90s along the Texas Gulf Coast. But again, with humidity, it's going to feel hotter than that. Those temperatures along the Mississippi River, mid to upper 90s to near 100. But again, with the humidity, it's going to feel hotter than that. So those excessive heat warnings there. And you go up the East Coast and you go from 90s for parts of Florida into the 80s, into the Carolinas and Virginia. and maybe even some 70s as you head further north, Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, up into Maine. So pleasant there. Your cooler temperatures around the Great Lakes still, and that includes up into Minnesota and parts of the Dakotas, especially North Dakota. And then the Pacific Northwest, also west of the Cascades, a little warmer than it's been, but compared to the rest of the country on the cooler side. And some of those cooler temperatures also in Wyoming, especially higher elevations. Same with Idaho, especially higher elevations. 90s through central California, and that turns into triple digits as you get into the deserts. Makes sense. All right, tomorrow's surface map looks like this. Scattered showers and storms, kind of the main feature here, and we'll show you this when we go through the reflectivity in the GFS model, but the main player is this low that's moving through the Great Lakes over the next several days, that trailing cool front, and the afternoon heating of the day, so scattered showers and storms from the south all the way up through the Ohio Valley into the Great Lakes, and then behind that also parts of the plains with that front stalling out in Oklahoma. Sorry, Texas, it's not going to quite make it to you. Another little low there in Montana along the Canadian border, some scattered showers and storms up there in the Pacific Northwest as well with that. And then, well, more the Northwest, not so much Pacific. And then up in New England, also scattered showers and storms. So lows to start the day tomorrow morning, quite warm in Texas, 70s and 80s. Same with Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, across the south. Just a very warm start to another hot day. Desert Southwest also 70s to near 80. And then as you head further north, with the humidity that's come, temperatures starting pretty warm, even in the Midwest, temperatures around 70 to start the day. Further north, you get 60s. And then as you head into, say, Montana, parts of the Dakotas, Wyoming, parts of Colorado, low temperatures in the 50s, very pleasant. And same with up in, say, Pennsylvania, New York, up into New England, temperatures to start the day, 50s, low 60s, very nice. Intermountain West, nice and cool to start the day. Hot in the deserts, crazy. I know, hot in the deserts, who knew? Tomorrow's highs, hot in the deserts. How about 110, Phoenix? Yeah. When I lived in Tucson and Phoenix, I used to say, I don't get cranky till it hits about 110. That's today, Phoenix. All right. I can't quite make out Las Vegas. Is that 103? Something like that. So Texas still, this is Friday's highs, tomorrow's highs. Temperatures right around or just above 100. And then those 105s, 104s, Wichita Falls down to Abilene. So just hot. Continued hot. Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, Oklahoma, not as hot as you head further east in the southeast. And then as you head up the coast, it starts cooling off. 80s for the Carolinas, into Virginia. Ohio Valley, temperatures tomorrow mainly in the 80s. So a little cooler for the Great Lakes. Even some 70s up there, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, North Dakota. And temperatures in the Northwest on the warm side, but not hot. And then California, again, through the Central Valleys, mid-90s, and hotter in the deserts. Of course, Nevada, you're looking at 80s for the most part, except for lost wages, still triple digits. Here's your rainfall for the next couple of days, so ending on Saturday morning. So from now until Saturday morning, here's where we're expecting the heaviest rainfall. Again, the bullseye, Missouri, Illinois, parts of Kentucky, into Tennessee, and then up in Wisconsin and the UP of Michigan too. Some pretty good rains, maybe up to a couple inches there. Parts of Florida, some heavy rainfall, especially down Miami way. Even parts of Louisiana, especially near Baton Rouge and New Orleans. Looks like could see 1.5 inches to 2 inches for some areas here as well. And lighter amounts up in the Northwest. Your surface map for tomorrow. That's where we see more of the rain all the way from the southeast up through that low that's in the Great Lakes. And ahead of that front, that low is driving. We see scattered showers and storms moving into the East Coast. A little bit of monsoon moisture, Arizona, Utah. up into Wyoming, Colorado, some scattered storms there and some scattered showers for the Pacific Northwest along the coast and on the west side of the Cascades, Northern California, you too. All right, let's get to the GFS model, and we're starting this morning. And as we go through time, we see those showers and storms out ahead of, see this front here? This low here in northern Minnesota, some showers and storms around that, but then driving that cool front, I should say, with some showers and storms out ahead of that. So this is where our severe weather should be busting out later today. So as we go through the day, this will get us into the afternoon and evening hours. We do see those showers and storms bubbling up for parts of Illinois into Missouri. Here's my chance of rain for western Iowa. Again, we had some pretty good, it's just amazing lightning last night and some pretty heavy rainfall too. I think we got about 3/4 of an inch where I live. So it was nice, and so maybe a little bit more for tonight. And again, around this low, this will be moving towards the Great Lakes, so we'll see this whole area, we'll see this repeat itself over the next several days, but further to the east each day. So this gets us to tonight, is where we're looking at here. As we approach midnight tonight, we see the showers and the storms and maybe some heavy rainfall moving out of Illinois into Indiana, also the Great Lakes area. This is kind of the main player here. Then as we go into Friday, this is tomorrow morning now, so just some light rain around it. Again, this low moving into the Great Lakes area, kind of the main player. And we'll see that repeat itself again tomorrow, and with these showers and storms further to the east in the Ohio Valley, moving into the southeast, so maybe a little bit of relief from that heat. That would be nice. Kansas with some heavier rainfall with this as well. And that'll last into the evening hours and then fade out. And then the low moving into the Great Lakes area. And then as we get into Saturday afternoon and evening, again, we'll see more showers and storms bust out in the heat of the day. Kentucky, Tennessee, lighter showers for the eastern Great Lakes now. And I just, if you hover over this thing, it freaks out. So let me get back to Saturday. And where did we leave off? So then as we get into Sunday, here we go. Sunday, we repeat the process again, the heat of the day. Showers and storms a little further to the east. This is Pennsylvania into Ohio. All right, enough of that. Highs for Saturday. I had to pull up a different map because where I usually get the high temperature maps, it had freaked out on Saturday, so I got this from a different place, and I kind of like this better. Maybe I'll start using this one. But Saturday's highs, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, into Mississippi, even southern Kansas, into eastern New Mexico. Temperatures in the low 100s and feeling hotter with humidity. Even parts of, let's say, I think that's Joplin that I'm looking at there with that 100 in southwestern Missouri. Temperatures do drop off as you head further north, but still 90s for parts of Nebraska. We're looking at mid to upper 80s here in Iowa. And then further north, we do transition to 70s for the northern plains into Minnesota and Wisconsin and the Great Lakes. So the Great Lakes is kind of the cool spot here, at least on the east, Appalachians in the 70s. But around that, we're looking at some 80s. Even 90s, is that 93 there in Virginia? I think so. And then the West Coast, still looking at 80s for the Willamette Valley up towards Seattle, 80s for eastern Oregon, a little cooler in eastern Washington. Mid-90s to near 100 now, a little warmer for the central valleys of California, and the desert southwest, of course, is hot. Sunday, not quite as hot for Texas, he said with a question mark, down a couple of degrees, but still most places low 100s. It is a little cooler for parts of Oklahoma and Kansas here. Temperatures dropping into the 80s for Missouri, where it was 90s to near 100. Lower 80s now for Iowa, so a little bit cooler on this map. Still the cool spot for the Great Lakes, a lot of 70s here. Near 80 for the Ohio Valley, and then pressing eastward, temperatures 70s and 80s. The mid-Atlantic coast, mid to upper 80s. Further south, warmer 90s, South Carolina into Georgia, and 80s and 90s for Florida. And then for the West Coast, more of the same, a little bit cooler for the western areas of Oregon and Washington with temperatures in the 70s, and cooler for the central valleys of California as well. And we'll show you that in the 6-day temperature outlook. It is cooler for the Pacific Northwest from on the 6 to 10-day outlook, and the bullseye for the coolest is probably the Great Lakes, parts of the Midwest, pressing into New England, even as far south as, say, Tennessee, Kentucky, the Virginias. Cooler than average temperatures. The heat focused over the Four Corners area and into Texas is your best chance for the hot stuff. But that extends all the way up into the northern Rockies, a little above average for temperatures. Precipitation, the wettest here is the Pacific Northwest, as we could see a couple systems moving in. Also for the central and northern Rockies, Intermountain West, a better than average chance for above average rainfall. Also up and down the entire East Coast. The driest areas, well, that's far west Texas, southeastern New Mexico, edging into like Midland, Odessa, down to Del Rio. And then, your slight chance of below average precipitation all the way from Arizona up into Ohio and southern Michigan. All right, that is a look at your forecast all the way through the weekend and beyond. I appreciate you being here. We will update you again tomorrow on the Weather Mic. Have a great day.